Hey everyone, Delphi Trading Group here with another weekly market report that we put out here on YouTube every week, kind of going over our forecasts on the markets, which have just been incredible all year this year. We're at over 95% win rate on forecasting the averages, and here we are again on the SPY. We have about 14 minutes to go to the close. So we can see here our target on the SPY from last week right there has hit. So mark up another winning target right there. You see as we came down here. So now what's going on? Well, a couple things, and we'll get to TradingView in a minute to look at something else. But we have the end of the year, end of the month coming up. We did highlight the monthly charts at the end of December. We'll get to one of those on the Qs. But we have also the so-called Santa Claus rally coming. And that is really, a lot of people think, especially, retail traders think it's the whole month of December. But that's not the case. It's literally the last 5 days of December, first couple days of January. Okay, so we could see a bounce, which we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, we can see, the SPY and the Qs. We'll have to look at the Qs, but the SPY today earlier was not looking good. That is the 50-day moving average, that red moving average. Okay, SPY was well below it, and it was pretty much in danger of falling even further. Okay, there's not much support under this 50-day moving average until, down here in these lower levels, which would be like roughly under 660, almost 20 points lower. So this is something you really need to watch. This 50-day moving average right now is around 677. And again, we have about 12 minutes to go to the close. But for now, the forecast for next week, and the other thing to look at below, okay, the CCI was very close to crossing that zero line earlier today. It was literally at the line. And what does that mean? Well, when that index crosses the zero line, or any stock for that matter on the CCI, you can get 2 to 4 more days lower momentum in that direction. Okay, and you can see here when it crossed here, it went lower for a couple days. Here it crossed, it went lower for a couple days, and then here it went lower for much longer than that. Okay, so you have to keep an eye on this. The Qs has already crossed, which we'll get to. Okay, and the stochastic is kind of conflicting because now this is nearing oversold, and this is a very wide divergence there. It's a big stretch. Normally you get like a rubber band effect. You can see every time the stochastic gets away from it's called the percent K, you get that rubber band effect. So wouldn't surprise us if we get that here, but that may come next week and maybe even towards the end of the year. Okay, so for now anyway, we are going to put the forecast short term lower. I'm going to go just a little lower back down to maybe retest that moving average. Okay, I'm only looking for a couple more days. If we do go lower, I do think we could bounce Friday, Monday into next week. And I'll show you why. But for now, just a small move lower to maybe retest that moving average, okay, on the SPY. Let's look at the IWM next. Look at the Qs last. And you can see today our IWM forecast from last week has hit. Now we did just go up, and we were really in like no nonsense market. Going up for no reason, really. And we put out a weekly report for our members every weekend on Sunday. And on that weekly report on Sunday, we said that it would not surprise us if we hit our target this week from the YouTube report. And there we go. We hit and surpassed that. And again, IWM was below. This is the 20-day moving average. And it was below that here. It was in danger of falling all the way down to the 50. So what I'm going to do here, again, and if we look below what's going on here, look at the CCI as pivoted and just coming out of overbought, and the stochastic is now just waterfalling over. Okay, so going to go lower on the IWM as well. This could only be for a couple days. So I'm going to go back down to kind of retest this low here on the IWM. Okay, maybe a little bit there, and then we'll have to see. Again, if it closes under the 20-day, there is a chance it could drop down here roughly towards 245, 246. That is the 50-day moving average. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And now the Qs. Again, the Qs has definitely been the worst looking chart and index. And why is that a big deal? Is because the Qs, you know, in my opinion, is the most important index. Why? Because that's where all the Mag 7 stocks, the big tech stocks, all of those reside in the Qs. Okay, so this chart is not looking good at all. Okay, we can see here it has definitely violated both moving averages. We have the 20-day and the 50-day there. And we closed under there. And looks like we're going to close under there again today, under those. Okay, and again, look at that CCI 0 line cross. Okay, this crossed yesterday. So we could expect a couple more days lower. But I do think this area right now could hold for the next couple of days. And again, I do think we could bounce going into next week. And that bounce may last till the end of the year. Okay, so first things first, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go back down a little lower. Again, I think these averages for now are going to hold as resistance. Okay, so I'm going to go a little lower just because of the CCI. Okay, if we look below the CCI, look at the stochastic. That's even a bigger stretch than the SPY. Okay, look at that. That's a very big. We haven't seen a stretch like this in a while. I mean, this is the closest one, and look what that was. That was probably half that distance. Okay, so we saw that here. So again, any pullback I feel is going to be very short term, and I'll show you guys why I think that in a minute. But I'm going to go again. I'm just going to go back down lower. Kind of may not even get to today's low. Okay, I do think we may go lower, or we could just stay sideways here a little bit lower for the next couple days. And then before I get to trading view, a couple things here. Our bonus plays, we put out 3 bonus plays last week. Okay, and again, our target on the Qs from last week hit, obviously, and just well surpassed that target there. Okay, but let's look at the bonus plays we gave out because only one was activated here. Okay, this is Serve Robotics. You guys remember we went lower. We said contingent on a pivot and off that nasty shooting star here resistance. And we also said it wouldn't surprise us if the pivot happened the next day. Well, there it is. I mean, it blew past our target. So you can see the target there hit. And now it just blew past the averages. So, if you guys followed here and took puts, you probably did really well. That was like a $4 drop on a $14 drop. That's a huge percentage move. And options, if you would have bought puts here, exploded. So if you follow, congratulations on that one. Netflix was the other one. Okay, we had put that contingent on a pivot off that hammer, and you could see it did not pivot. Okay, this is why in this market you have to be extremely disciplined. Okay, because even technicals are being ignored up and down. Okay, we're telling all our members, if you're taking trades, wait for pivots. If you're looking for reversals, don't just take a trade off of a candle. Even though it could look like an A+ setup, wait for the pivots. You could see it did not pivot, and this would have been a losing trade. Okay, look at, we're down here now. So again, this is why we said contingent on a pivot on Netflix. Okay, the other one was Royal Bank of Canada. Okay, we left the forecast here. You could see we were going lower off that shooting star, contingent on a pivot, and it did not pivot. You could see that, no pivot there. And what happened? Straight up, right? So again, be very disciplined when you're trading in this market. Setups up and down could look very good, but even with pivots, it's not 100%. Okay, with this, the end of the year tends to be extremely volatile, extremely wanky, and it's not the easiest trading environment. Okay, so we can see this pivot did not hit here, and I'm gonna put out a new bonus play here on Cheniere Energy, LNG. Now, full disclosure, I do not like trading energy stocks because they're very news driven, very, economic, numbers driven, tied to the dollar. So I do not like trading energy stocks, and our members do know that. But it doesn't mean others, if others want to trade it, you can. So we're seeing here LNG has just been getting killed. Oil's been going straight down. And it is at this is a pretty big support here on LNG. Okay, and if we look closer, we see right now we have a bullish engulfing candle. You can see that. Okay, the green is engulfing the red body from yesterday, and that was another hammer. So we have double hammers, and we have a bullish engulfing candle right now. Market's going to close in about 3 minutes. We do not have a pivot, though. We do have a higher high, but we also made a lower low. And you can see this is the 52-week low that it made today. Okay, that's why it shows that low there. But the chart is still looking bullish here. Okay, so if we go through our technicals that we look at when we take trades, and all our members know this, okay, volume's going down. When volume's going down on the way down, that's bullish. That means the sellers could be leaving. Look at this CCI. Okay, this has been going straight down. The CCI now has been going up. That's a huge bullish divergence, okay, when you see that. Okay, when you see this stock going down and the CCI going up, look at where the stochastic is way oversold and starting to come up now here too, okay? So again, contingent on a pivot. We need a pivot. Now that pivot could come tomorrow. We do think we could get a short-term kind of a relief bounce here. But again, full disclosure, it's very, very difficult and very risky to trade energy stocks because they are tied to oil, and oil is tied to many different economic factors, okay? So on a pivot, we're going to go up higher on LNG. That's going to be our bonus play, okay? So let's go back to the Qs. We're going to jump to TradingView. Okay, and why are we here on TradingView? Because we have talked about this before. We have discovered an amazing tool that nobody has anywhere. Okay, this is our cycle line. Okay, this is a reversal cycle. Okay, we've been trading this for over 3 years. It's been only wrong once. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, you have to follow the indexes, and as the cycle line is coming up here, you can see back here, we actually shorted the markets here extremely heavily back here in February. We had our best trading window back here from February through May. And we shorted this heavily here. Why did we short it? Well, one of the big reasons was the cycle line. You could see the indexes were coming up. They hit it perfectly and crashed. And there's the closing bell. And crashed, right? Basically crashed all the way down to the next cycle line. And what happened here? Okay, we sold all our bearish positions down here as we got closer to the cycle line, closed them all out, made a ton of money for our members, and then shifted to calls. Why? Because again, look what happened. It hits the cycle line and reversed back up. You can see here, headed down into the cycle line, it bounced, right? Headed down into the cycle line, it bounced. Here it went up into the cycle line and dumped for 2 days, okay? So why are we showing you this? Well, because we have another cycle line coming up here on Friday, okay? And we can see what are the indexes doing here. This is the Qs. The Qs now are heading lower, okay? So again, we have a couple more days to get to the cycle line. And this is why we said if we stay here or go a little lower, we think it could be short-term lived. Any move lower in the indexes could be a couple days, maybe at the most. Because if we do go lower or stay here, there could be a good chance we're going to bounce, and that bounce could take us to the end of the year, okay, as we approach the end of the year, Christmas, Santa Claus rally, all that stuff, okay? So just be mindful of this. Again, nobody's using this, nobody has it. Only our members get access to this, and we trade around it. We've been trading this, again, for 3 years amazingly well. And if we do see the indexes heading lower, even if a little bit lower, we may be playing some short-term calls for a bounce. Okay, now again, this is not guaranteed, and it's only been wrong once in 3 years. The only time it was wrong once was around the holidays here. Okay, so just keep that in mind. This is why we're short-term, very short-term bearish for a couple days. And then as we enter Friday, Thursday, Friday, we could see a bounce next week, and that bounce next week could go to the end of the year. Okay, so this call was a little bit longer, but again, we went over a lot, a couple of things. You guys got a bonus play. So that's it from us. Good luck trading. We will see you next week before Christmas to see how these did and our forecast did, and see what could be coming next week. Now remember, next week is a short week. Thursday's closed for Christmas. Friday's a half day. So be very mindful of that when you're taking trades on options, theta. Okay, there's going to be some pretty major decay next week. So just be mindful of that as well. All right, please like, subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. We're just trying to get the word out. And, please just let people know we're here. We're here to help, okay? So that's it from us. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Good luck trading, and we'll talk to you soon.